Before we begin, if you love rare coins, hidden treasures, and stories that could change the way you look at the change in your pocket, make sure you subscribe right now and stay with me until the end. Because today we're talking about a coin most people ignore, but collectors never do. Today's spotlight is on the 1991 cent coin from South Africa. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Small, brown, lightweight. The kind of coin that gets tossed into jars, drawers, or forgotten in old wallets. But here's the truth. Sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest surprises. The 1991 cent was issued during a fascinating time in South Africa's history. The country was on the edge of major political and economic transformation. Every coin minted in that era carries the atmosphere of change. That alone gives it historical weight far beyond its face value. This coin was struck in copper-plated steel, giving it that warm reddish tone many of you remember. On the front, you'll see the familiar South African coat of arms used before 2000. Strong, symbolic, and deeply rooted in tradition. On the reverse side, the bold number 1 stands firm, with cent and the year 1990 below it. Simple design, strong identity. Now, let's talk about what most of you really want to know. The value. If you walk into a shop today with an average circulated 1991 cent, meaning it has scratches, wear, and has clearly been used in everyday transactions, you're not looking at a fortune. Most common circulated pieces trade for a very modest amount, often just a few rand, sometimes even less. In bulk, they may sell by weight rather than individually. But here's where things get interesting. Condition changes everything. To a 1991 cent in uncirculated condition, meaning it was never used in daily transactions, holds a stronger appeal. If the coin still has its original mint luster, no scratches, no corrosion, and sharp details, collectors are willing to pay more. High-grade examples can sell for significantly higher than face value. Not life-changing money, but respectable. Now let's take it one step deeper. Error coins. This is where seasoned collectors, especially men in the 55 to 65 plus age group who have spent decades understanding minting variations, start paying close attention. If your 1991 cent has a minting error, such as double striking, off-center strike, unusual thickness, or metal composition irregularities, its value can multiply dramatically. And I want you to listen carefully here. Not every unusual mark is an error. Damage from circulation is not the same as a mint mistake. True mint errors happen during production. That difference is what separates a 5 rand curiosity from a highly collectible piece. There have been rare cases in coin markets where error cents from various years have sold for hundreds, even thousands, depending on rarity and demand. While the standard 1991 cent is common, a verified rare error in excellent condition can command serious collector attention. Now let's address the big question many of you are thinking. Is this a $3 million coin? In normal circumstances, no. A regular 1990 South African 1 center does not reach anywhere near that figure. However, when we talk about the coin world, we are talking about extremes. Unique patterns, transitional mint errors, or one-of-a-kind production mistakes in global numismatics have reached extraordinary prices. The lesson here is powerful. Never judge a coin only by its denomination. For many of you watching, men who remember when these coins were in everyday circulation, you might still have jars stored away. Old toolboxes, garage drawers, forgotten tins from the early 1990s. That is where discoveries are made. The 1991 cent also holds sentimental value. It represents the final years before major design changes and economic shifts in South Africa. Shortly after, lower denomination coins began disappearing from circulation due to inflation. The 1 cent itself was eventually phased out. That makes surviving examples a small piece of monetary history. Collectors today often look for full-date runs. That means having one of each year. The 1990 issue fits into that sequence. If someone is completing a late-era copper-plated cent collection, they need this year. Now let's talk about grading, because this is where many viewers in your age group already have experience. You know that shine matters. You know that edges matter. You know that tiny details separate average from exceptional, that if you believe your coin is in outstanding condition, consider having it examined professionally. Proper grading can authenticate condition and protect value. A certified high-grade coin always commands more confidence in the marketplace than an uncertified one. Storage is another factor many people overlook. If you keep coins loose in jars, they rub against each other. Microscratches form. Luster fades. But if stored in proper holders, away from moisture, they preserve their quality for decades. And here's something else important. The true power of a coin like the 1991 cent is not just its price today. It's the long-term collector demand. As younger generations grow curious about pre-2000 currency, supply continues to shrink. Coins are lost, damaged, melted, or discarded. Over time, well-preserved examples become harder to find. Scarcity drives value, but scarcity must be paired with demand. Right now, the 1991 cent is considered common in circulated grades. In brilliant uncirculated condition, it becomes more desirable. In rare mint error condition, it becomes exciting. In historically documented unusual production cases, it becomes exceptional. So what should you do if you have one? First, examine it under strong light. Look for sharp edges on the number 1. Check if the coat of arms still shows clear fine details. Tilt the coin slightly. Does it still shine, or is it dull? Inspect for off-center strikes or doubling in the letters. Second, do not clean it. Cleaning destroys collector value instantly. Even light polishing can reduce potential worth dramatically. Natural aging is respected. Artificial shine is not. Third, store it properly. A simple protective sleeve can preserve it for years. Now let's bring this home. Most 1990 South African 1-center coins today range from very small amounts in circulated condition to higher, but still modest, prices in mint state. Exceptional pieces, especially rare verified errors, can reach significantly higher levels depending on buyer interest. But the real treasure might not be a single coin. It might be the collection you build. For many men in the 55 to 65 plus age group, coin collecting is not just about money. It's about legacy. It's about history you can hold in your hand. It's about passing something tangible to children or grandchildren and saying, "This was from my time." And sometimes, in that quiet moment of searching through old coins, you rediscover memories that are worth more than any price tag. Before we begin, take 1 second right now, subscribe to this channel, and stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share may completely change the way you look at the small coins lying forgotten in drawers, boxes, and old wallets. Picture this for a moment. A quiet afternoon, a wooden table, a single copper-colored coin resting in the palm of a hand that has worked hard for decades. This is not just any coin. It is a 1-cent coin from South Africa, dated 1993. At first glance, it looks ordinary, almost invisible, the kind of coin most people would step over without a second thought. But history has a strange habit of hiding power inside small, silent objects. And this coin is one of them. 1993 was not just another year. It was a turning point. South Africa stood on the edge of a new era, a moment when old systems were collapsing and a new nation was being shaped. Coins minted during times like this are not merely currency. They are witnesses. They carry the weight of transition, uncertainty, and hope. When you hold this 1-cent coin, you are holding a piece of that moment, frozen in metal. Now think about who used this coin. It passed through the hands of working men, shopkeepers, miners, farmers, and fathers providing for their families. It bought bread, newspapers, and small daily necessities. It jingled in pockets, rolled across counters, and disappeared into jars at the end of long days. Most of these coins were spent, worn down, scratched, lost, or melted into obscurity. Very few survived in exceptional condition. And condition is where the story starts to change. A 1-cent coin from 1993 that shows sharp details, original color, clean edges, and no heavy wear is already rare. Most were used heavily because low-value coins circulate the longest. Finding one today that looks nearly untouched is like finding a classic car that was never driven. Collectors know this. Serious collectors search for coins that look as close as possible to the day they were minted, but there is another layer, and this is where experienced men lean in closer. Not all coins are created equal, even when they look the same. Some were struck with subtle differences. Slight variations in metal mix, pressure, alignment, or die work can create coins that stand apart from the rest. To the untrained eye, it's just another cent. To a trained collector, it can be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. In 1993, minting processes were under pressure. Changes in production, materials, and demand created opportunities for rare minting anomalies. Some coins were struck slightly off-center. Some show unusually strong details. Some were produced in extremely limited quantities before changes were made. These small differences are what turned pocket change into legend. Now imagine this. A man cleaning out an old drawer, maybe something his father left behind. Inside, wrapped in paper, is a small group of old coins. Among them, a 1 cent from 1993. It looks different. He doesn't know why, but it feels heavier, sharper, more alive. He almost tosses it aside. Almost. That hesitation is the moment that separates loss from fortune, because collectors don't just buy metal. They buy stories, rarity, and condition. They compete quietly, fiercely, sometimes for years, to own the best example of a coin that few others even know exists. And when two determined collectors want the same piece, price becomes almost meaningless. Men who have spent their lives building, earning, and preserving value understand this deeply. True value is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It waits for the right eyes. The South African 1 cent 1993 sits at the crossroads of history, scarcity, and overlooked importance. It represents the final echoes of an old system and the first breath of a new one. Coins like this are no longer being made. Every year, fewer survive. Every year, more collectors enter the market, searching for tangible pieces of history they can hold, pass down, and protect. This is why serious collectors don't laugh at small coins. They study them. They weigh them. They examine the edges, the strike, the tone, the surface. They understand that value is not about size. It's about significance. And here is the truth many people are not ready to hear. The most valuable coins in the world were once considered worthless. Pennies, cents, small change that people ignored until it was too late. The men who recognized their importance early are the ones whose collections are now worth fortunes. If you have a 1 cent coin from South Africa dated 1993, especially one that has been preserved well, untouched by harsh cleaning or damage, you may be holding something extraordinary. Not every coin will reach legendary status, but the few that do redefine what we believe is possible. Now stay with me, because this is the moment you've been waiting for. In the elite world of private collectors, museum-level acquisitions, and closed-door auctions, a perfectly preserved, extremely rare variation of the South African 1 cent 1993 has been valued at up to $3 million. Before we begin, take a second to subscribe to this channel, because what you are about to hear might change the way you look at the loose coins sitting in your drawer, your toolbox, or that old tin box you have kept for decades. Now imagine this. You are holding a small, simple copper coin. It feels ordinary, light, almost worthless at first glance. You may have handled thousands like it in your lifetime, paid for bread, newspapers, or sweets for the kids. But this one is different. This one has a story, and stories are where real value begins. This is the South African 1 cent coin from 1996. To many people, it was just spare change during a time when the world was shifting, when South Africa itself was stepping into a new era. But for those who truly understand coins, especially men who have lived long enough to appreciate history, patience, and timing, this coin represents something far bigger than its face value. Think back to the mid-1990s. Life moved slower. Money felt real because you could hold it, hear it, and feel its weight. Coins mattered. A 1-cent coin still had a purpose. And 1996 was not just another year. It was a period of transition, adjustment, and rebuilding. Coins minted during such moments often carry silent importance that only reveals itself years later. The 1-cent 1996 coin was struck when South Africa was redefining its identity. The materials used, the minting process, and even the quantity produced were shaped by economic decisions made at that exact time. Some batches were produced under tighter conditions. Some were circulated briefly. Some disappeared into pockets, jars, and forgotten boxes, never to be seen again. Now here is where it gets interesting. Not all 1-cent 1996 coins are the same. To the untrained eye, they look identical. But collectors know better. Small differences matter. A slightly sharper strike, a cleaner surface, a subtle variation that only appears under close inspection. These details separate a common coin from a rare survivor. Men who are 55, 60, or 65 years old understand this concept well. You know that value is not always loud. It does not always shine. Sometimes it sits quietly for years, waiting for the right moment and the right person to recognize it. Just like land bought cheap decades ago. Just like tools made when quality mattered more than speed. This coin has survived time. Inflation tried to erase it. Modern currency systems tried to replace it. Many 1-cent coins were melted, lost, or discarded as useless. That alone increases the importance of those that remain, especially ones kept in excellent condition. Now imagine opening an old drawer, maybe one you have not touched in 20 years. Inside, you find a small pile of coins wrapped in paper or resting inside a tin. Among them, a 1-cent 1996 coin. At first, you might smile and think nothing of it. But then curiosity hits. You look closer. You remember. You realize this coin comes from a time that mattered. Collectors are not just buying metal. They are buying history, survival, and rarity. They are buying the idea that something small can outlive generations. And when demand meets scarcity, value changes dramatically. This is why experienced collectors, especially older men with patience and vision, pay attention to coins like this. They understand that today's ignored object can become tomorrow's headline. They know that the best investments are often the ones nobody is talking about yet. Over the years, whispers have grown louder around certain South African coins. The 1-cent 1996 has quietly moved from pocket change to collector discussion. Not because it is flashy, not because it is large, but because it represents a closing chapter in everyday coinage and a unique moment in national history. Condition matters. Preservation matters. A coin that avoided heavy circulation, that kept its original surface, that was stored away rather than spent, stands apart. These are the coins that serious collectors hunt for. These are the coins that change hands privately, away from noise and attention. Now let me say this clearly. Most people will never look twice at a 1-cent coin. Most people will never know what they had. And that is exactly why the few who do pay attention hold the advantage. If you are watching this, and you are over 55, you have already learned one of life's biggest lessons. Time reveals truth. What was once ignored can become priceless. What was once common can become rare. Coins are no different. So before you dismiss that small copper piece, remember this. History does not announce itself. It whispers. And only those who listen closely get rewarded. And now, here is the part that stops people in their tracks. Among collectors and private high-end discussions, there are claims, stories, and serious speculation that a perfectly preserved, extremely rare variant of the South African 1-cent 1996 coin, under the right conditions, could reach a value as high as $2 million.